Before modern medicine, people didn't wait to recover. They learned how to live while being sick. For many of them, illness was not a phase. It was a lifetime companion. Life with disease was normal, long before hospitals, antibiotics, or painkillers. Disease was everywhere. People woke up sick. They worked while sick. And they went to sleep, still sick. There was no clear line between being healthy and being ill. Most people lived somewhere in between. A cough could last for years. A wound could stay infected forever. Fevers came and went, like seasons. Doctors were rare. And when they existed, they often had no real cure. Bloodletting, herbs, prayers. Sometimes these things helped. Often, they did nothing at all. So people adjusted. They learned how to farm with aching joints, how to raise children while weak and feverish, how to sleep through pain, because tomorrow demanded work again. Illness was not a tragedy. It was simply part of life. At night, when homes grew quiet, people lay on cold beds, listening to their own breathing. Some wondered if the pain would be worse by morning. Most already knew the answer. Soft pause, and still, they slept, living and working while sick. For most people, being sick did not mean resting. Rest was a luxury, and disease did not wait for permission. Farmers worked fields with swollen joints. Every step hurt, but stopping meant hunger. Mothers cooked and cleaned while coughing through the night. Their hands shook. Their breath was short. But the work continued. Children grew up seeing illness as something ordinary. A fever was not a reason to stay in bed. It was something you carried with you. Many people could not remember the last day they felt well. Pain became familiar. Weakness became routine. There were moments of hope. A day when the fever felt lighter. A morning when the pain eased just enough to smile. But relief rarely lasted. Infections returned. Old wounds reopened. Coughs deepened with time. People learned small adaptations. They leaned on tools. They worked slower. They slept in short pieces, waking often to pain or breathlessness. No one spoke much about it. Suffering was shared by everyone, so it was rarely mentioned. And when night came, bodies already exhausted from illness and labor, prepared to sleep again, not to heal, but to gather just enough strength to repeat the same day tomorrow. Night, fever, and uncertain sleep. Night did not bring relief. For many, it made illness louder. As the body rested, pain became impossible to ignore. Joints throbbed in the dark. Old wounds burned beneath rough cloth and straw bedding. Homes were cold. Beds were thin. There was no way to escape the body's discomfort. Fevers often rose after sunset. Faces flushed. Breathing became shallow. Sleep came in broken pieces, interrupted by heat, chills, and confusion. Some people drifted into fever dreams. Dreams filled with wandering streets, distant voices, and unfinished days. They woke unsure if hours or minutes had passed. Others lay awake listening to coughing in the next room, to the slow breathing of children, to their own heartbeat, heavy and uneven. There was no medicine waiting by the bed, only water, sometimes a cloth, sometimes nothing at all. Pain was not treated. It was endured, and slowly, out of exhaustion rather than comfort, sleep would return. Not deep, not healing, just enough. Enough to survive the night. Long, gentle pause, and when morning came, the illness was still there. Quiet acceptance and endless days. For most people, illness did not end. It simply continued. There was no final cure, no clear moment of recovery. Instead, there was acceptance. People adjusted their lives around pain, around weakness, around days that felt heavier than the last. They stopped expecting to feel better, and in doing so, they learned how to endure. Each morning was approached quietly, not with hope, but with familiarity. They dressed slowly, moved carefully, and returned to the same routines their bodies allowed. Life before modern medicine was not dramatic. It was slow, repetitive, and quietly exhausting. At night, they returned to their beds once more, not asking to be healed, only hoping the pain would be gentle enough to allow sleep. Soft pause. And so, day after day, they lived with disease until life finally ended. Not suddenly, but gradually, in silence. Quiet nights, ordinary endings. For most people, there was no turning point, no moment when sickness suddenly ended. Life simply moved forward, with illness always present in the background. People did not count how long they had been sick. They counted the days they could still work, the nights they could still sleep. Pain was measured quietly, not in words, but in how slowly they moved, and how carefully they rested. When sleep came, it was not deep. Bodies shifted often, breathing changed, dreams faded in and out. But even imperfect sleep was enough. Enough to wake up, enough to continue, enough to live one more ordinary day. Before modern medicine, this was survival, not dramatic, not heroic, just quiet endurance, repeated every night. Soft pause. And so, they lived with disease, not waiting to be cured, but learning how to sleep beside it. Soft pause. And so, day after day, they lived with disease until life finally ended. Not suddenly, but gradually, in silence. Quiet nights, ordinary endings. For most people, there was no turning point, no moment when sickness suddenly ended. Life simply moved forward, with illness always present in the background. People did not count how long they had been sick. They counted the soft pause. And so, they lived with disease, not waiting to be cured, but learning how to sleep beside it.